Hello, 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 my friends. It's my birthday, or, well, almost my birthday. We're in my birthday month, and I kind of started this tradition with my 30th birthday, but as I hit my 35th year, these kind of milestone birthdays feel like good markers to reflect back on my life and what I've learned in the process. I don't really feel 35, although I'm not sure I know what 35 is supposed to feel like. Some people say it's a millennial thing, but maybe never feeling like a real adult is just part of being an adult, whatever generation you're from. But whether I'm actually a real adult or not, I wanted to go through some observations and advice from my past self. 10 years ago when I was turning 25, if you had shown me my life now at 35, I would have had a hard time believing you. Things are so different. I've achieved so many of the things I thought were impossible back then, and at the same time, there are so many aspects that are the same, or at least the same in theory, but I'm different. So how I deal with them is different and hopefully better. But anyway, here are 10 things that I wish I'd known 10 years ago. First up, and let's start with the hard one, give yourself permission to take up space. I spent the majority of my 20s trying to make myself smaller. It's such a cliche thing at this point for a woman to feel like she needs to be smaller in every aspect of her life, to be unassuming, to not be too loud, too assertive, too opinionated. I felt that pressure to be smaller. I knew that it wasn't right, and if a friend told me that they were struggling feeling this way or that a partner was making them feel like they were too much, I would have absolutely been like, you do not have to be small, quiet, meek, whatever to have value. But if it was me, I wouldn't think to give myself that very same advice. And even today, I still have to talk myself through the idea that I have value in who I am, that I deserve to take up space in the world, that me, being me, isn't too loud or dominating or weird. It's just who I am. Number 2, you gotta set boundaries. This one, I don't think you can go on the internet without running across someone using therapy speak and talking about boundaries. But for me, the last 10 years have 100% been about learning what my boundaries are and being comfortable with having and setting them. I am a chronic people pleaser, and the idea of saying no to things and people kind of breaks my brain. And I've had to actively rewire myself to create confidence in setting boundaries. But I am so much better off for it. It's still a work in progress, for sure. Probably always will be, but I would not have gotten through my wedding season relatively intact if I hadn't done the work on learning to set boundaries with the people in my life. Next, number 3, you have to recognize that you're not here to be perfect. Again, as a recovering perfectionist, this is something that my logical brain knows. Perfection is not a realistic goal at all, but my, base self is like, I have to be perfect to have value though. It's a constant tug of war in my brain, so the earlier you recognize that value is not tied to perfection, the better off you'll be. Okay, number 4, it's okay and never too late to start over. This is true for careers, relationships, school, anything and everything. No matter how stuck or rock bottom you might feel, there is always opportunity for new growth. And usually it leads to a much better place anyway. For me, in these last 10 years, I broke up with my partner that I had spent the first 2/3 of my 20s with. And going into my 30s, unsure of where I was headed relationship-wise, I really struggled with feeling like I'd missed my chance at love. Which is comical to think about now because 28, 29 years old is not too old for love. You're never too old for love. But it is daunting to start over after a long-term relationship, as it would be if you made a career pivot or got divorced or lost a family member or friend. So I highly advise you to get comfortable with the idea of starting over because you never know what's going to happen. Life rarely goes to plan. And who knows what I might start over in the next 10 years. Next, number 5, a little creativity advice. Create for yourself first. Since I started this channel, I have constantly been in this battle between the opposing forces of what I want to create as an artist and what will get views. If you listen to like hustle culture, they'll tell you how to get views, but it may not match what gives you purpose in your creative practice. And in my experience, allowing external validation to drive your creative work usually leads to burnout, soulless art, just general dispassion. So you have to find a way to stay connected to why you love creating your art. I'm not saying you can't find a balance between your passion and, a way to make money, but I do think that weighing what you want your art to be more than what others want is important. Okay, now for some fitness advice, I guess. Number 6, the gym is not as scary as you think it is. This may purely be advice that only I needed, but who knows? Shout out to my socially anxious peeps who find the idea of doing something new and different that you don't know the rules for to be absolutely terrifying and paralyzing. I only started going to the gym in the last 3 years once my husband moved here because he had a gym membership and I could go for free with him. But I have always been anxious about the gym. It was very intimidating, kind of a combination of the anxiety of high school gym class with the fear of looking stupid when trying new things. Like, oh my gosh, you're 30 years old and you've never used a treadmill before? Or you don't know how to use a Smith machine properly? What a loser. Anyway, that fear was 100% a barrier, but I can report from the other side, it's not as scary as you think. Most everyone is not paying any attention to you. And get a buddy who either has some experience in the gym or wants to learn with you, and you can laugh at yourselves as you try to figure out how to use the torso torsion machine. Next, number 7, be patient with yourself. Sometimes we think we need to have it all figured out, that we need to check off all the boxes: marriage, house, family, dream job, etc., etc. And if we're not doing it at the same pace as our peers, oh no, red flags. This has certainly been a struggle for me. I can get so frustrated with myself that things aren't moving fast enough or the way that I want them to. And just with time and age, you start to realize that rushing things is like trying to make it to the grave first. All these things are what make up life, and the slow phases or seeming detours are shaping you just as much as the big accomplishments. Okay, for number 8, I highly recommend prioritizing quality over quantity when it comes to relationships. I don't know if this is just a me thing or a millennial thing because of the media I grew up on, but I've always felt this pressure to have a big, close-knit friend group. That my ability to have at least an outward appearance of like a squad is indicative of how likable I am as a person. But I found that that's not really the type of person I am. I find people who match the different aspects of my personality and develop deep friendships that way. I might have less friends overall, but the quality of my friendships is really high, which I found is more important to me. Also, and this is less something that I've experienced and more of what I've seen other friends experience, but if a friendship or relationship is more contentious than it is uplifting, it's okay to let that friendship go. It doesn't mean it won't be painful, but it's less painful in the long run. Coming up on number 9, and this is a big one, communication is key. This kind of goes back to number 2 about setting boundaries and expressing your needs, but the sooner you learn to be open and vulnerable in how you communicate, especially in relationships, the better off you'll be. And finally, number 10, the absolute top advice that would have benefited me in the last decade: you can't fix people. So much of my life has been spent trying to fix people. But over the last decade, I learned about codependency and have done a lot of work in that area. Basically, you can love and support others, but their growth is their own responsibility. Their decisions are not your fault, no matter how much that inner voice tells you it is. I'm 100% still working on those fixer-upper inclinations, but I am so much happier when I stop taking responsibility for other people's thoughts, actions, and decisions. Woo! So that was a lot of advice. Hopefully helpful advice. Maybe things you think are obvious, but definitely things I had to learn the hard way in the last decade and more. I like to hope that past Caitlin would be proud of where current Caitlin is, and that future Caitlin is laughing at this, thinking, you don't even know what you're capable of yet. but I'd love to know down in the comments, what would be some advice you would give your past self? And if you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, don't forget to subscribe, give it a thumbs up, and turn on that notification bell so you're the first to know when there's a new video. I'll see you guys later. Bye!